Hello, in this video we are going to be discussing the send email actions. Up until now we've had what we'll call the classic send email action where we can configure the subject and body to be available to put some kind of message into and then we are selecting records which based on the email field in those records gets sent out. So if we have a look here at one of those actions, you can see send email classic. The Apex class name is list view action email. And if we go to the related parameters, you can see the email subject and email body that need to be configured. So if we then go to our classic everything example, I have this pinned to all accounts. So sorry, all contacts. So all contacts will show, and as we saw, that classic email required that a record be selected. So if I select that record, the send email classic displays. And you can see the information here, and so we can add information. It's very simple. There's no substitutions that are made or anything like that. And that was the first send email action available. We now have a new send email action available which uses templates. And so we're going to go through how that action works and give an example. What we need to start by doing is going to the classic email templates and creating, well, we don't have to create an email folder, but it is recommended to create one. What I did was I created a folder and I called it SLV contact email folder. And I then created two templates which use the contact within the template. And we're going to see those templates now. If we go to the action, we can see here that it's very similar to the classic send email action. Everything in the header record is basically identical. The Apex class name is list view action email. Here I have the object type set to contact, and we have it so that it's displayed if one or more records are selected. If we go to the related action parameters, this is where the change is. The most important change that we have is that we have the email template folder. Now the API names need to be exact, but this parameter here identifies to simply list views that we are using a template action instead of a classic action. And what you'll notice here is that the folder default value is set to SLV contact email folder, which is exactly what we have here. Folders do not have developer names, and so, or I am not able to retrieve that developer name, and so we, in this particular case, use the regular label for that value. We also have another option here, which I will go over in a little bit, but let's start off by looking at an example using this template. So here we have our everything example again. I have selected a record, and if we go to select an action, one of the options that we'll also see is send email template. So if we click on send email template, you can see here that we can now select a template, and the templates that are available are those that are inside the folder that we have specified. So you can see here, this is the folder that's specified, and so we have the templates available to us. We're going to start out by showing just a basic contact template. So once selected, you can see the number of records that have been selected, the basic description, email subject, etc. This is all provided by the template itself. So when you create the templates, this information is what is required. Okay. One of the things we'll notice here is that we have the contact first name. Now, this tells us that for this particular template, we need to supply a contact. If we supplied a lead ID, for example, this template wouldn't work. So we need to make sure that the templates that are displayed to the user match the list that is being made available to them. Okay. What we'll also notice here is that we have user email at the bottom and organization name. This is just showing that there are some fields that don't require us to supply any special information. The user is found based on the current user that is executing the template, and the organization name is found by the Salesforce system. There are many others. This is just an example using what is supplied. So we'll see here that I have added my email into Jack Rogers. And so if we were to go to the template here and we were to say send emails, the email gets processed and we should receive that email in. And one of the things that I did notice with this particular issue with the templates is that it is sending it to my junk mail. So you can see here, Dear Jack, so that gets filled in, and then you can also see at the bottom here that the other information has been provided. So that's a basic template where we really are just providing the ID of the particular entity that we want to email, and then moving forward with that. We also have the ability to have a what ID. So templates require who IDs and what IDs. The who ID will always be that particular object that we are selecting. So in this particular case, it's a contact. And then what we can also provide is a what ID, and that helps the template better identify those objects that need to be providing more of the detail for the template. So if we go and we look at the second template, if I just click on it, what we'll notice here is that it's still using the contact, but there is also a child object that needs to be provided. And I've actually called this object child object, just to make it very clear. So where does this child object come from? It can come from anywhere, but simply list views to find that particular value requires that that field comes from the record itself inside of the list view. So you'll notice here that for this particular list view, at the very end, we have a child object lookup. And this one's called Jack's child. Okay. And so what's going to happen, and what we do over and above that, is we indicate the what ID field inside of the action. So you can see here the email template what ID field, which needs to be exact. And then the default value is set to the field name. Now remember that the list view must be provided. The list view field must exist on the list view. You can't add any field you want, even if it's not on the list view. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to have a template where we are sending it to the contact, but there is other information somewhere else that is being provided or that needs to be provided inside of the email. So what we can do here is we can go to Jack Rogers, we can select him, we can then send the email template, and we're going to select the other template. You'll notice here is the information, and I have just provided the description that the child ID, that the child object is the what ID. So now if we send this email, what's going to happen is that the email will hopefully appear. There it is. And you can see the information here is provided and has been substituted. So Jack Rogers and then Jack's child has been supplied inside of the template. So that is how we now can use templates, email templates inside of Simply List Views. We need to set up the folder for the templates. Then whenever we add any templates, we need to add them into the specific folder that we're going to provide to the users and make available to them. Then inside of the action, we need to add email template folder, very specific, and the folder name that we have set up. If we use a what ID, we need to provide that as well. And we need to make sure that the list view contains the field that we provide in the default value. Once this has been done, we should then be able to go to that object that the action has been configured for, select a value, and go and create emails based on the template.